Bitcoin could be the greatest opportunity to acquire wealth in the history of mankind. But here's the thing, nobody knows what Bitcoin is yet. No one knows where this is going. The technology has been unleashed and it cannot be stopped. Not by banks, not by hackers, not by government. All Bitcoin needs now is time to breathe. All it needs to do is survive. And meanwhile, we have front row seats to history. Hyper-Bitcoinization is the idea that Bitcoin will one day reach a level of adoption where it has become the one medium of exchange and store of value. Hyper-Bitcoinization is the phase when Bitcoin is used to buy your coffee and power the global economy. Bitcoin has the opportunity to become the world's first universal digital currency due to its fundamentally sound monetary properties. What do I mean by that? Let's take just 3 examples. First, Bitcoin is borderless. You've probably heard this many times, but let's think about what this means. Traditionally, nationalistic monetary systems keep the citizens of a country financially hostage by forcing upon them a government-decreed currency. For example, in Sweden, I cannot pay rent or buy gas with US dollars, and I can't use the Swedish krona in the UK. If my government was so inclined, it could refuse me the right to trade with other currencies, and I would for all intents and purposes be locked up in my own country. This is not a big issue in Sweden, because the government is still relatively functional. In Venezuela, however, the citizens are, at this very moment, being held financially hostage by their government. They are prisoners. They cannot physically escape their country. They are not allowed to exchange their national currency for any other currency or trade with other states. Bitcoin solves this completely. With Bitcoin, you don't have to flee your country physically to escape an oppressive government. There are many stories of families trying to escape China or Venezuela and how they have had all their cash and gold confiscated at the border. No one can confiscate your Bitcoins. All you have to do, and listen, this is important, all you have to do is remember your private key in the form of 24 words, and you can travel the world with your entire life savings. If you wanted to flee a country and at the border they ask you if you're carrying any Bitcoin, if you're moving any illegal Bitcoins across the border, you say no, because you don't. First of all, Bitcoins don't exist. There's nothing you can point to and say that's a Bitcoin. There are only unspent transaction outputs, which we call coins for simplicity, but in reality, they are just ledger entries or unspent transaction outputs. And they are on the blockchain. And the blockchain is everywhere. Your Bitcoins are already in the country you're going to, so no, you're not carrying any Bitcoins. With 24 words in your head, you can go anywhere and no one can touch your savings. Bitcoin is global. There are no borders. No one can impose borders. And no one can confiscate your Bitcoins. The fact that Bitcoin is borderless is a huge deal. Second, Bitcoin is permissionless. And this is an equally big deal. Listen, in Bitcoin, there is no central agency. This means that no one can prevent you from transacting with Bitcoin ever. You can transact with whomever you want, whenever you want, and you don't need to ask for permission regardless of the amount you want to send. Your funds cannot be frozen or confiscated, and your transactions cannot be stopped because there is no one to stop them. There is no one to freeze your funds. In Bitcoin, no permission is needed to use your money like it should be because you own your money. And this is absolutely not the case with fiat, by the way. Never before have we had a permissionless digital currency. Third, the most important value proposition of Bitcoin is true digital scarcity. Nothing is as scarce as Bitcoin. Nothing. And digital scarcity is a huge deal. In the year 2140, about 120 years from now, just fewer than 21 million Bitcoins will have been created. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins. That's the mathematical asymptotic cap, hard-coded into the protocol. No government, bank, or Bitcoin developer could ever change this. No one could ever artificially deflate Bitcoin's value by increasing the supply. The supply and the issuance rate are predetermined, meaning that, and listen, this is important, meaning that the Bitcoins you own will always be the same percentage of the total supply. Imagine that. Regardless of how much Bitcoin's purchasing power increases or how much someone is willing to pay for Bitcoin, your percentage of the total supply doesn't change. Let's look at how much money there is in the world. $73 trillion in global stocks, $127 trillion in fiat, $250 trillion in debt, $217 trillion in global real estate, $1.2 quadrillion in derivatives. There will be nearly 21 million bitcoins when all have been mined, but about 20% of the bitcoins that have been mined so far are lost forever. At most, we will have 16.8 million bitcoins in circulation ever. The global value of all money is $1.8 quadrillion. If we were to see hyper-Bitcoinization and Bitcoin consumed all of this value, we would see one Satoshi costing $1, or one Bitcoin costing $100 million. These charts show that Bitcoin is growing exponentially and has only just started its journey to hyper-Bitcoinization. The logarithmic chart shows the previous bubbles very clearly, and the linear chart does not. The bubbles we have seen so far are seen through the lens of hyper-Bitcoinization, so-called micro-bubbles. If you are a holder of last resort and you understand the economics behind money and you understand Bitcoin, you have reason to be bullish. And I'll leave you with this. A friend asked me if it's selfish to want to be rich. I said, of course not. Being rich allows you to buy back your time so that you can pursue the things you really want to do in life, which for most people, in one form or another, is to help other people. We all want the time and the means to become the person we envision ourselves to be, and for most of us, that's a good person. Money is an amplifier. With money, you become more of who you really are. Bitcoin is the first expression of money where you can really own your own money. This has never happened before, and while no one really understands what Bitcoin is yet, or where it is going, we know that Bitcoin is changing history. So let it breathe and watch it unfold.